Welcome to the channel. Today, we're exploring some unbelievable story. Stay tuned and let's dive in. My journey was not beginning as I had hoped. I had to be in Austin on Thursday and Friday for a conference. When we were younger, my wife, Sarah, would take a half day off to ensure that I had enough happy memories to last the whole time I was gone. This time, she just kissed me goodbye on her way to work. My name is Robert Harris Jr., for short. I am 45 years old and have been married to my wife Sarah for the last 20 years. We have two children, Ethan, 21, and Sophia, 19. At around 3 p.m., I left work and headed to the airport. My flight was at 6 p.m. I always arrived at the airport early since I disliked being late and worried about missing my flight. This time, everything went well and I spent an hour waiting for the boarding call. The jet arriving from Colorado was delayed due to adverse weather conditions. A snowfall was approaching. After a 45-minute delay, we eventually boarded. Half an hour into our journey, I saw the aircraft bank left. At first, I assumed it was adjusting its course, but I quickly realized it was turning around. Sure enough, the pilot told us that the snowfall made landing at Austin Airport difficult, so we were returning home. Back at the airport, I raced to the airline counter to rearrange for a trip the following morning. I was fortunate enough to get one of the remaining available tickets. I would be late for the conference, but I would arrive as soon as my seat was secured. I called my contact in Austin to let him know I was delayed and would be there tomorrow. I also left a message on my boss voicemail. I immediately phoned home, but Sarah didn't answer. Although it was beyond 8 p.m., the home was dark, and Sarah's vehicle was not in the driveway. I assumed she'd opted to work late or go to a restaurant. Our home seemed empty once our youngest kid left for college. I left my stuff in the vehicle and walked inside. I heard weird noises coming from the living room. I went that way and saw that the television had been left on. That meant Sarah returned home after work, since I am sure the TV was turned off when I went for work. I shut it off and glanced around the house for her. There was no trace of her. I dialed her cell phone. She answered after a few rings. Sarah answered, "Hi, honey," as she recognized my mobile phone number. "Hello, love. Where are you?" she asked. It was such a simple question, the type I had asked so many times throughout our marriage. I didn't ask to probe or be inquisitive, I just wanted to know where she was. "Where else, dum-dum, at home watching my soaps," she said, metaphorically dumping a bucket of cold water at me. "And you? How was your flight? Are you at your hotel yet?" My brain froze. I was fatigued from the trip delay. All I wanted was to get my wife back to sleep and snuggle with her for a few hours. These were such straightforward expectations. Despite the airplane delay, I felt fortunate. I'd be able to spend some unexpected extra hours in bed with my wife. But, rather than returning to my lovely wife of 20 years, I returned to lies and dishonesty. I didn't anticipate it at all. I did not know what to do or say. Did she really lie to me? Why would she do that? She had no incentive to lie to me. Why lie if she was at work, with friends, or out to eat? My quiet must have been extended since Sarah said, "Honey, are you still there?" "Yes, I'm sorry. We arrived at JFK and I need to leave," I replied, hanging up on her. My phone began ringing almost immediately. I did not respond and turned it off. I needed time to contemplate. Sitting alone on the sofa, I felt numb. I was trying to understand why Sarah would lie to me. Perhaps she had planned a surprise for me. I recalled 4 years ago having to tell her a series of falsehoods. I was planned a cruise for our 20th wedding anniversary. I involved her employer and parents for a month. I lied often, attempting to just weave around the reality. All of the falsehoods came to fruition on the day we left for a weekend in Los Angeles and arrived at the port, where I presented her with 2 cruise tickets. But no matter how hard I searched, I couldn't identify a notable anniversary in the coming months. At best, my birthday and our 25th wedding anniversary would be in 10 months. There was one notion that kept coming back, but I consistently rejected it. I refused to think about it, not us, others, yes, they faced that, but not us. My daughter Sophia was the one person I knew who would be aware of whatever surprise Sarah had planned. When I turned my phone back on, I quickly dialed her number. "Hi, Daddy. How are you?" my darling daughter stated. "Hello, darling. What's up?" she asked. "Not much, Daddy. I just finished my homework and am now watching television," she said. "And you, have you talked with your mother recently?" "No, nothing special, aside from our weekly phone call on Sunday," Sophia told me. "I apologize for asking, but do you chance to know anything about a surprise she has planned for me?" "Don't tell me what, just tell me if your mother is planning anything," I said, full of optimism. "No, Daddy, nothing at all." "Why are you asking?" "Well, she has been acting strange lately, and I was wondering if she was hiding a nice surprise for me, maybe for my 50th birthday," I said to her. "No, not yet, Dad. Didn't we just celebrate your birthday last month?" "Yeah, forget I asked." "Good night, baby." "Night, Daddy." So, that wasn't it. Why would she lie to me? Maybe there was a promotion. Yes, that's it. I'm not sure why she'd lie about it, although it's possible that she was still working hard for a promotion. Working for that promotion had kept her up late many times recently. She understood that no advancement was worth our lost time together. She was aware that I insisted that she reduce her work hours so that we could spend more time together. She also understood that I was right to ask, since I had turned down a promotion to spend more time with her and the kids. Just a few months before our 20th anniversary, about 5 years ago, I applied for and was offered the position of Vice President of Finance at my firm. The main issue was the continual travel to the San Diego headquarters for board meetings, as well as regular visits of all our factories around the nation. I was overjoyed when I was given the position, but Sarah quickly made me reconsider taking it. First, my predecessor got divorced within 2 years of being promoted. He ended up wealthy, but lonely and depressed. My 2 children had 2 and 4 years of high school remaining, and they still need both parents' direction and assistance. Sarah didn't like being the only one participating. We spoke about it for a week before I realized I was losing sight of what was most essential in my life: my wife and children. I turned down the promotion. That's why I wasn't too pleased the previous 2 months when Sarah began working really hard for her own promotion. Sarah's experience differed. The kids were at college, and it was just the 2 of us. Her promotion would require some more travel, but it would have little impact on our lives. We could definitely arrange our own journey around the same time period to reduce our time apart. The issue was the several hours spent working overtime for that promotion. I didn't find it very fulfilling to only see your wife for 1 or 2 hours every day for an entire week. That's not even taking into account the decline in our romantic relationships. She even spent several Saturdays and Sundays at work. When she got home, she was really fatigued. I am not sure when we last made love, a month ago. Last month. We aren't young anymore, but it was pitiful. So, I wouldn't be shocked if she was at work when I called and lied to avoid my complaint. Of course, it is unfair, given I was also traveling and knew that extra overtime wouldn't damage anybody. So there was a simple method to find out. I picked up my phone and phoned her direct line. "Vertex Media, Jonathan Thompson speaking," said Sarah's coworker. I was caught by surprise. They didn't work in the same room, and I didn't anticipate anybody other than Sarah to pick up. But Jonathan was a wonderful person, and he would let me know if Sarah was near. "Hi, Jonathan, Jr. here," I said. "Hi, Robert," Jonathan said. He never got to use my moniker. "Why are you calling me here when you and Sarah are on vacation?" "Vacation? What is your vacation?" "Hey, Jonathan. Sorry for bothering you at work. I merely clicked the incorrect speed dial button on my phone," I claimed. "Not a problem, Robert. Just tell Sarah that she owes me lunch when she returns next Monday to cover for her again. I'm at work, and it's far past 9 p.m. She owes me a lot of money," he stated before hanging up. Sarah was not only not working, but she was also not present at work. Jonathan informed me she was off work for the rest of the week. That was beginning to terrify the heck out of me. Where was Sarah, and what did she do? I had an uncomfortable thought. Oh no, it can't be. I always refuse to assume the worst about people. I like to be a cheerful person, to look on the bright side of things, to see the best in each of us. But here I was, assuming the worst. Could it be? Could she do it to me? Could she be with her sister Rachel? We were alienated from Rachel and her former husband, Robert. We were once incredibly close. We spent nights together, babysat for each other's children, co-hosted several family events, and even went on vacation together. It all ended one day when I returned home with a severe headache. I took a few Tylenol and lay down on the sofa. Sarah and Rachel returned from their shopping trip around half an hour later. They were talking away and never spotted me. "Have you seen the new produce manager at the supermarket?" asked Rachel. "Yes, he's cute, if I may say so," remarked my wife. "He is better be all smiles with the romp we had together yesterday in the back of my van," she remarked. "Oh, Rachel, not again," said my wife. "One day you will get caught and lose a good husband and maybe more." "Do not worry, big sister. I'm always careful," Rachel said. "We have to leave. It's time to pick up the kids." They vanished, leaving me wondering what to do. I have always been a straight shooter, but in this situation, I was unsure about the best course of action. I admired Robert, and I knew the news of Rachel's infidelity would be heartbreaking. I also knew he would immediately throw her out of the home. Do I really want to be the bad guy and end their marriage? I was unable to make a choice before Sarah returned home with the kids. I was relieved that she disapproved of her sister's infidelity in a really clever manner. I decided to leave the choice to her. When we were getting ready for bed that night, I approached her about my problem. "Honey, I have a hard choice to make, and I really need your advice," I said. "Let's imagine I overheard a chat today and discovered that someone close to us was cheating, having sex outside of marriage. What will I do? Should I inform on them? Should I be furious at the cheater?" Sarah stared at me, uncertain of what to say. "Well, it may depend. Is this a one-time mistake or an error made while intoxicated?" "There are so many possibilities," Sarah said. "Let's say, for argument's sake, that it's Robert, and that he picked up a woman in a bar," I said. "And I know this isn't the first time. Should we let it go and not say anything? Should I speak with him to help him alter his ways?" Sarah abruptly sprang up in bed and grabbed her phone. "That a-hole, the two-faced grub. I will show you what to do and then do it straight away. I will inform Rachel immediately away that he is cheating on her." I took the phone from her hand. "Let me do it, honey. It is my responsibility," I explained. "Are you certain it's the right thing to do?" she asked. "I am sure." "I hope she kicks the maggot out of the house," Sarah said. Then she turned to me and said, "And we will not let him remain with us. He can locate another location. I don't want a cheater in my household." Fortunately for me, Robert answered the phone. "Hi, it's your favorite brother-in-law here. Sorry for calling so late, but I have something terribly horrible to tell you." "Favorite brother-in-law? You are my only brother-in-law," remarked Robert. "What is so essential that you're calling me this late?" "I overheard a discussion earlier, and I have devastating news. Your wife is not entirely yours, if I may say so. Your husband is cheating on you." "It happened yesterday, and it was not the first time," I said. Robert was quiet on the phone for a long time. "I can't believe it," he eventually said, his voice barely audible. "Are you sure you are talking about my Rachel?" "Yes, I heard the confession from the horse's mouth itself," I said. Bragging is a better descriptor than admitting, if you get my drift. And I didn't hear any regret. It was like describing a game of hide and seek. "I'm really sorry to be the bearer of such dreadful news. I'll let you deal with it your way, but don't hesitate to call. We will be there for you and the kids." "Thank you, Robert." I hung up. Sarah had tears in the corners of her eyes. She gave me a sorrowful grin and said, "I'm really proud of you, honey." "It takes courage to deliver such bad news," Sarah added. "Will you please hold me? I'm so lost and scared." I grabbed her into my arms and began to gently rock her. "I wonder if they'll go to therapy," I inquired after a little time. "I believe it wouldn't do any good," Sarah murmured drowsily. "Once a cheater, always a cheater." "You're right," I said. Night. I was about to fall asleep when the phone rang, waking me up. Yeah, hello, I said, yawning and whispering gently to avoid waking Sarah. What the hell? What have you told Robert? Rachel asked in a very furious tone. Only the truth. I told the truth, I murmured, looking at Sarah, who was waking up. I talked about it with Sarah this evening, and we decided it was better to tell the truth, however upsetting it might be. I can't believe my sister would rat me out, Rachel said, her voice full of hatred. Certainly she would. She was going to do it herself, but I snatched the phone from her and decided to inform your hubby personally, I said. We agreed that cheaters should pay the price, whatever that price is. Rachel began crying. So, what can I do? Rachel sobbed as she explained that Mike had booted her out of the home. Well, if you've been kicked out of the house, it's well deserved, I said. So, what can I do? Where should I go? May I come to your place? Asked Rachel. No way, Sarah and I both said. We would never grant sanctuary to a cheater. You are on your own. I can't believe my sister would say that she loves me, Rachel told me. Sarah, what do we say to a cheater who wants to come over here after being sent out? I asked Sarah, moving the phone toward her and resting a finger on the speaker aperture. She smiled mischievously. Her lips moved closer to the phone. I do not want a cheater in my household. Sarah responded, get lost, with pride. I instantly returned the phone to my ear. I'll speak for both of us and just say once. You've left our life. Stay away from us. Don't come and don't call. If you need a place to stay, go to your parents and explain why you were booted out of your home. I hung up the phone. Sarah started holding me tightly. I'm really proud of you, honey, Sarah remarked. We went to sleep. As the old Scandinavian adage goes, crap hit the fan the next morning. Luckily, the children were still asleep. Sarah's father called early, and Sarah answered. I could hear him shout at his daughter. Sarah's grin faded and she burst into tears as she hung up the phone. What have you done? Asked Sarah. What have we done, honey? I sought for guidance and disclosed the infidelity. It was your idea to expose the cheater, which I totally agreed with, I added. But you said that Mike was cheating on Rachel. I said, for argument's sake, that Mike picked up a woman in a bar and had sex with her, I recounted. I did not claim he was cheating on her. So, what's the difference between Mike cheating on Rachel and Rachel cheating on Mike? She asked. Well, Rachel is my sister, Sarah said. So you're saying it's okay for her to cheat on her husband because she's your sister? Is this a family thing? Do I have cause to be concerned? I remarked, irritation obvious in my voice. Sarah was dumbfounded. Honey, I'll say it once and you'd best believe me. That sister of yours sets a poor example for our children. I don't want her around and I don't want you to do anything with her. She is not welcome in this home. Around our children, I said. That happened 2 years ago. I knew Sarah still saw her sister on occasion, but it was a taboo issue in the family. It didn't surprise me that she'd go see her sister while I was away and keep it from me. She was still not very likable. However, her ex-husband recovered from the drama and soon remarried. My hatred had dissipated and I was relieved not to be near her. Sarah and I should discuss it. It is not a nice issue, but clearing the air might make things simpler for us. I'm sure she felt horrible lying to me about it when I no longer cared. The conference had at least 1,000 attendees. They were all gazing at me, an anonymous mob with no faces. I took a big breath and began my expose. Studies show that there are two types of persons in the realm of tissues. There's the first group, the denialists, who blow their noses, don't glance down, and throw away the tissue immediately. Then there are those who confront reality. They blow their noses and peek inside the tissue. Someone in the throng was waving their arm to get my attention. It was Sarah's employer, Jonathan Thompson. Yes? She asked. Well, he responded with a sneer, front the fact. I had sex with your wife. Just behind him, a beaming Jonathan Peters stood up. Me too, I screwed your wife. A third, unknown man stood up. Me three, he said, breaking into a loud chuckle. Not really. I've always wanted to say that. And the whole audience began to laugh loudly. 1,000 hostile faces smirked at me. I sat straight up on the sofa. Damn, I'd fallen asleep on the sofa. I wiped the drool off my cheeks and stood up. I glanced at my watch. It was midnight. I must have nodded asleep for more than 1 hour. Maybe Sarah came home while I was asleep and didn't see me since I wasn't meant to be here. I stepped inside the bedroom, but there was no trace of her. Then I realized she was probably with her sister. I wanted to call Rachel and ask for Sarah, but I remembered that if I knew where she lived, I'd picked up her children there many times. I don't know what her phone number is. Or do I? I grabbed my smartphone, and as I was ready to go to my contact list, I saw the Find My Phone app icon, which I had put on both of our phones last year when I misplaced mine somewhere between Phoenix and Las Vegas. In a couple of seconds, I knew where Sarah's phone was: Havenwood Estates. What the earth was she doing at Havenwood Estates? Rachel was penniless and couldn't afford to purchase or rent a home in Havenwood Estates. It was an extremely elite enclave, with most properties costing several times more than ours. I used Google Earth to determine where she was precisely. Her location seemed to be on a highly private estate encircled by a big stone wall, rather than in the hamlet center. What was Sarah doing in a millionaire's home? Havenwood Estates was around an hour's drive from town. I needed to know what she was doing there. I wasn't ready for a confrontation just yet, but I needed to know what she was up to. If I just asked her, she would probably lie, as she has previously done. Within minutes, I was in my vehicle. I was punishing myself while driving for refusing to accept Sarah's worst-case scenario. Instead of making explanations for her facades, I should have immediately checked her phone's GPS location. When I arrived to Havenwood Estates, I still hadn't decided what I wanted to do. I wasn't sure what to anticipate. I was looking for a clear explanation. I drove towards Sarah's mansion. Damn. There was a massive fence barring the entry, and I had no intention of driving up there and buzzing the house to beg for my wife. I glanced around, and a parked automobile along the road would be an eyesore for the inhabitants, attracting a police car or whatever security officers were assigned to this premium enclave. I traveled a little before finding a woodland track where I could park the vehicle. I had no idea how I would scale that wall. That's when I learned the estate was on the lake, and there could be a method to get to the property from that side. I immediately discovered a pedestrian entrance to the lake on the coast. I didn't know which mansion Sarah was in. I had to continuously checking on the GPS location. I eventually arrived to a large home. The mansion's lights were still on, but they were emanating from the second story. The first level was dark. One curtain was open, and light poured through the window. I picked a tree and climbed high enough to see into the home. I initially saw a guy wearing a white terry cloth housecoat. I did not recognize him at all. He was older than me, maybe 60. He left a few minutes later. A lady came, and I immediately knew why Sarah was there. Rachel, her housecoat open, glanced outdoors while drinking champagne from a glass. She was bare below. She was still a really attractive lady at 40. She still had a flat stomach. So I was correct. Sarah was with her sister. Knowing Rachel's financial situation following her divorce, I wasn't shocked to hear she was looking for a sugar daddy. But I didn't enjoy finding that Sarah had been pulled into that type of life. You never know what may happen with these folks. The first guy I saw appeared behind Rachel. He gently grasped her, removed Rachel's glass of champagne, and placed it out of sight on his left. I should have climbed down from the tree to avoid seeing my sister-in-law naked, but I did not. The elderly guy was still wearing his own housecoat. The guy began behaving like an animal. I'm quite old-fashioned. For me, love and sex are just two sides of the same coin in a woman-man partnership. What I'd just seen was completely devoid of love. I didn't like Rachel, but I would never wish anything so horrible on anybody. I was ready to get down, embarrassed by the spectacle, when the pair stepped away from the window. That's when I saw Sarah. She was seated on a sofa in the back of the room, with a foolish intoxicated smile on her face. My heart froze. Her housecoat was open all the way down to her hips, kept in place only by the belt. A second guy approached her, opened his housecoat, and Sarah sealed the demise of our marriage by putting her drink down and kissing him. I was so surprised that I took a step back and fell from the tree. Branches stopped my fall, and I wasn't harmed too badly when I landed. Fortunately, no one heard my fall or was concerned by it. I staggered back to my vehicle. I was really, horribly wounded. Not from my fall from the tree, but from my fall from Grace, the loss of my lover. I considered rushing to the cottage, busting down the door, and causing as much mayhem as possible, but the prospect of spending the next 3 to 5 years in prison for breaking and entering an assault was not enticing. As I strolled alone into the night, my mind was racing with emotions. There were no more denials in me, only a feeling of loss, enormous anguish, and a mounting rage that I didn't dare to let out, lest it overtake me and ruin my life even more than it was already. I knew that even if my anger escalated to violence, I would never physically harm Sarah, yet I almost did. I could have just drove home, packed my belongings, and abandoned her, living in a broken condition with our own salaries and no more underage children at home. The divorce would be straightforward, divide everything 50-50ths and say goodbye. But I needed a little retribution. I considered the concept for a few minutes before deciding to go for it and see how it turned out. I grabbed my phone and phoned Sarah's number. As predicted, she did not answer, and I received her voicemail. I was hoping that she would check her voicemail right away after I left it, just in case. "Hey, honey," I began, "you didn't answer the home phone, so I'm calling your mobile. I simply wanted you to know not to worry if you hear my keys in the door in a few minutes." It was a strange evening, with a blizzard diverting our aircraft to San Diego and then being brought back here. They don't know when we'll arrive, but I should be home 30 minutes after that. See you soon. Now, she must have heard the ping sound that indicated she had a voicemail. We were in the middle of the night, so she must have been surprised and concerned to get a message so late. It's totally out of character for me. She is now grabbing for her phone to go to voicemail. Please let her be intoxicated enough not to notice that I couldn't use my mobile phone on the aircraft. She is now panicking. She's about to be caught. She's not sure, but she believes she may have enough time to get in the vehicle and beat me home, all while dressing up quickly and answering questions from her sister and boyfriend. My phone began to ring, which astonished me. I didn't think about it. It made reasonable for her to attempt to find out precisely when I'd be home. "Hi, honey, sorry if I woke you up," I told you. "It's okay. Are you on the way home?" asked Sarah. "I should be there in about an hour, give or take a few minutes," I said, knowing that it would be difficult for her to beat me back home, but manageable. "Will she bite?" "Okay, see you then," she answered before hanging up. Within a few minutes, I saw her automobile leaving the estate's gate and traveling quickly toward the freeway. Damn. She almost ended up in the ditch. She must be more inebriated than I imagined. It is one thing to toy with Sarah. It's another thing to sit here knowing she may be involved in an accident and murder some innocent individuals. I was angry with her, but not at the expense of the life of my children's mother. Think fast, think fast. Call 911, what is your emergency? I want to report a drunk motorist. The automobile nearly hit me, then raced away, swerving like mad. It just got on the highway at Havenwood Estates, traveling south. It's a dark blue Toyota Camry with 4 last digits on the registration plate. It's 7714. Somebody better stop that car before the driver kills someone. I was praised for my aid and informed that a police vehicle would be sent to investigate the intoxicated driver. I maintained my distance and followed Sarah. 2 exits later, I saw a highway police vehicle well up on a bridge above the interstate. When Sarah's automobile came into view, it accelerated and returned to the freeway. Sure enough, they pulled Sarah over. I passed them around 45 minutes later. I was back home. It's almost comical, if it weren't so terrible, that in the course of one night, the life of one of the people I cared so deeply about would become meaningless. I had to take a few seconds to consider the prospect of Sarah's death in a vehicle accident, as well as the anguish and agony my children would experience. My affection for her had no role in my choice. I didn't stop loving her, but I couldn't picture our lives moving ahead together. I switched off both the home phone's ringing and my mobile phone. I needed to think. I can't believe I've spent the past several hours trying to come up with an explanation for Sarah's lie when the obvious one keeps popping out at me. I opened a bottle of wine and considered what I would do. For years, I imagined that my love for Sarah would be like a wonderful bottle of wine, reaching its pinnacle with age. As is, it seems to have turned to vinegar. I loved that lady so deeply that the anguish of her treachery was killing me. No, it wasn't only the treachery that was hurting me, it was also the realization that we had lost love. Without that love, I was nothing. I was nothing. It had defined me for the previous 23 years, 25 as a husband and woman. Can I withstand that? Wouldn't it be less unpleasant to just leap off the next bridge? I never imagined I'd have to prepare a life without Sarah. I didn't know where to begin with it. I never made choices without first consulting with Sarah. I couldn't even think of speaking to her. It's simple. My family has been my whole existence. My wife and children have been at the forefront of every choice I make. Even our social life revolved around our family's requirements. I didn't interact much with my coworkers. I went to social events like the annual Christmas party, but I was usually returning home straight after work. I could count on one hand the number of times I had gone out with coworkers during the past decade. With the kids out of the home, it was just Sarah and myself. Now it was just me. I was left alone to grieve. I was left alone, with no one to love. I'm alone for the first time in my life. Why would she do that to me? Why the deceit when a plain divorce would have been as painful but more respectful of all the years and good memories we shared? When did she quit loving me? Was she only staying with me till the kids grew up and left? When did she stop caring? I regarded the departure of our children as a chance to focus more on Sarah and ourselves. It seems she regarded it as the end of the road for us. My reasoning wasn't very clear, but I concluded that she probably didn't know how to break it up. I believe she still cared for me, unless it was just timidity. I kept watching that stranger have sex with her. The way she kissed him without hesitation and began having sex demonstrated how comfortable they were with one another, as well as how simple it was for her to cheat on him. Sarah with her lover. I am alone, without affection. I had just one thought. We were dead as a pair. Despite my sorrow, my agony provided a lifeline to life. Pain reminded me of my loss of happier times, of my children. I must ponder about them. My children rescued me that evening. I didn't have the self-esteem to pull myself out of the depths of my misery. My children did it. The notion of them helped me maintain some sense of self-preservation. Ethan and Sophia will soon marry and have their own families. I knew I wanted to be the grandfather and pamper their numerous children. I simply will not do it with Sarah. I had to get away from it all before the anguish consumed me. It wouldn't be particularly difficult, just painful. I know I'll always remember Sarah and how much I loved her. I know I'll always remember her having sex with another guy. I needed to get out of here. I had always been a guy with modest aspirations. My parents were not wealthy, but I grew up in a really loving home. I could do without all the showy things. I now possess a vehicle, clothing, and a laptop. Those were the only items I would bring with me. The more I thought about it, the clearer the answer to my dilemma became. I'd pack up my belongings and disappear. I didn't want to look at the lady I once loved more than life. The sight of her would only remind me of what I had lost and my ongoing agony. I got up, grabbed a couple bags, and began packing all of my clothing. It just took me 30 minutes. I got all of my stuff in my vehicle in a couple of minutes. It was about 6 a.m. I finished packing. I then slept, knowing that Sarah would stay in the inebriated tank until mid-morning. I slept like a rock. My phone alarm clock awakened me up at 9 a.m. After booking an emergency appointment with my lawyer, I had a shower, removed my wedding ring, and placed it on the table next to my phone. I decided to spend a few minutes writing a letter. Dear Sarah, I should have known you'd become like your sister, a stupid, oversexed, lonely, divorced woman. Genetic, I suppose. By the time you read this, I'll be gone from your life, never to be seen again. I adored you and was very wounded by your treachery. I never imagined I could be so hurt. I will be fair and swift so you may return to your beloved after 20 years of wonderful life together. I am grateful for the 2 children you have given me. I just wish you had been as fair and divorced me before you began cheating on me. Were you paid? If the home you were in is any indication, the gentleman seemed to be wealthy. I don't want to see you or speak to you. We've got nothing to speak about. My lawyer will contact you. Please sign the divorce paperwork. Junior. P.S. Screw you. I arrived to the bank around 10 a.m. I paid up our shared credit cards and cancelled them. I had the bank issue a cashier's check for all of our savings and CDS, and I transferred just enough money from the checking account to meet the mortgage and utilities expenses for the following 2 months. I subsequently withdrew my name from the joint account. I left the bank with a check totaling about $250,000. I arrived at my employment shortly before noon. My supervisor was startled to see me as I was supposed to be in Austin. He was even more startled when I revealed that I was resigning and leaving town. My connection with my employer is extraordinary. He is my boss because I denied the promotion, and he first felt bad about it, as if he was owed to me. When he went through a divorce 2 years ago, I walked into his office and explained why I denied the promotion. Since then, we've been more like partners than bosses or employees. Listen, Robert, I have a proposition for you, the man replied. I will accept your resignation from your present job, but I will not request that HR terminate your employment and issue you a check for your 401k. Instead, we now have an opening in our new optics section in Phoenix. It pays less than your current salary, but I hear you can locate a quality house for a very reasonable price out there. We struck a compromise when he promised to propagate the notion that I had resigned my job. Next, I went to my lawyer's office and informed that I was leaving Sarah. Plain and straightforward. He was to serve her with divorce papers and grant her power of attorney so she could sell the home, which would be her 50% portion of our money. My attorney, who was also a family friend, attempted to persuade me to seek therapy, but he quickly realized that I would be out of town, out of state, and out of a marriage by midnight. By late afternoon, I was on the road. I was exhausted and quit at 8 p.m. in a fairly rundown hotel. Hey, what do you expect from a $60 per night motel? I just needed a place to sleep. I called Ethan's number from a disposable phone I had purchased earlier. Hello. Hi, Ethan, it's Dad, I said. What is the phone number? Dad asked Ethan. Okay, preserve it. It's my new phone number, I said. Any news from your mother today? No. Why? Well, I have to be direct with you, Ethan, I told you. I caught your mom cheating yesterday. Oh, crap, Dad, not her either. What are you planning to do about it? It's already done, Ethan, I said. I packed my belongings. I cleaned her bank accounts, leaving enough for her till she sold the home. I resigned my job and am now on the road headed south. I am done with her. I will allow her to fool around, but not as my wife. She will get divorce papers later this week. There was a lengthy pause on the line. Does Sophia know? Ethan asked. No. Not yet. Everything occurred so quickly. You're the first to know. I'm not sure whether your mother is aware that I left her yet. She wasn't around when I packed, I explained. I'll call you constantly. Keep me informed. Another lapse in stillness. I love you, son. I'm bushed and I need to go. Love you too, Dad. My phone conversation to Sophia was equally sad and devastating. My 2 children had seen the destruction Rachel had caused to her family, and they, like me, couldn't comprehend why their mother would do the same to us. I wonder how long she's been doing this. Sophia, as always, said the truth. How long had it been that we were no longer enough for her? It doesn't matter, honey, I replied. I just wish she had been honest with me and divorced me before cheating. It doesn't matter how long or why. To me, what counts most is that I loved her, that I trusted her with my life, and that she broke that confidence. Nothing else matters now. Please do not speak like that, Daddy. Tell me you'll be okay. I'm all right now, I replied, sorry, but I'll get over it. If I can avoid all contact with your mother, that was my reply. I will tell you where I reside. Can I remain with you after my school year? Asked Sophia. I had tears in my eyes as I assured her that she was always welcome to live with me. The division in Phoenix was modest, with just 30 workers. The district manager was more like a father figure than a cutthroat boss. I enjoyed the crew's immediate familiarity, and they made me feel comfortable. Within a month, I had set my sights on a lovely condominium. I never spoke with Sarah, but I had frequent updates from my attorney and my children. Moving on wasn't easy. There were certain cases when it was quite difficult. First, my counsel advised me that she was prepared to challenge the divorce. She said that she did not want a divorce and was willing to fight it to the end, even if it would bankrupt both of us. Fine, I informed my attorney. Forget about divorce. I do not care. It was just to give her the opportunity to go on with her life. Just tell her I don't want to deal with her again after our 20 years of bliss together. I hope she has a wonderful life, and I say, go choke on your spit. Can you say that? Because you are my friend, he explained. It will be a pleasure, he said. But I'll still bill you an extra $50. It was more difficult interacting with the youngsters individually. I needed to persuade them that there was no going back. The first issue occurred with Sophia. Dad, Mom went crazy when I told her I was going to live with you this summer, Sophia stated. I promised her I'd come see her, Grandpa, and Grandma. She was so strange that I had to avoid my phone for days. Sarah went over the deep end when Ethan opted to divide his summer with her and me. I never inquired about Sarah. It was my way of moving on and getting on with my life. It was difficult because I still had sentiments for her, mostly regarding our life prior to the betrayal. However, the kids continued telling me about her. To my astonishment, it seemed that she was as sad as I had been momentarily. That's absolutely inconceivable, given what happened to her sister. It's simple: you betray, harm the people you're meant to love, wreck your marriage, and then go on with your life. How could she be depressed? When I went out of my way to ensure she could go on without my presence. Her resistance to divorce seemed to be an attempt to avoid confronting the reality that her actions had destroyed our family. Isn't this stupid? I'd been in denial for many hours. She's been in denial for the last 2 years. Knowing that the kids communicated to me on a daily basis, she used them to apologize for her actions. My children told me that it was the first time she had allowed her sister lead her into a sexual adventure. I didn't really believe it. She apologized to the children and, indirectly, to me for her treachery. She stated that it was deliberate and that she knew exactly what would happen if she went with Rachel, her boyfriend, and a male friend of his. She confessed to the children her humiliation. When she recalls that evening, she got cold feet for a time before deciding to drink extensively to relieve her humiliation and guilt. When she received my voicemail regarding my impending return to the home, she had just completed having sex with her blind date. She was intoxicated when the highway patrol drove her to the drunk tank. She assumed that if she atoned long enough for her betrayal and shown her love for me via the children, I would reconcile with her. She attempted to persuade me that she would do everything to show me her love. I was aware that the children hoped I would reconcile with her, but I couldn't bring myself to talk to Sarah. The fact that I lived so far away from their mother made it difficult for them to choose between her and me. Sarah was frequently pestering the youngsters to tell her where I lived. She just knew it was in a southern state. She found out where I was about 2 years after I left. One day, as I was leaving work, I saw her haunting the workplace. I was certain about my children. So I had no idea how she was able to identify the city where I resided. My children told me that she was certain that if she met me, I would alter my mind. I really wanted to alter her opinion about it. She didn't notice me since I exited by a side entrance. I grabbed my phone and dialed a number. "Hi, Isabella," I said. "Do you remember what I told you about my ex-wife? Well, she's here and will most likely accompany me home. Be prepared. See you in a bit." I managed to step in front of Sarah, hoping she would follow me. When I drove out of the parking lot, Sarah was right behind me. I drove about town briefly, stopped at the grocery shop, and then returned home. I arrived home and parked into my condo's driveway. I didn't need to fetch my keys since Isabella, a stunning Latina lady in her early 30s, answered the door for me. 2 minutes later, the doorbell rang. Isabella, a 12-month-old child on her hip, went to open the door. From my vantage point in the kitchen, I could see Sarah's amazement. Isabella greeted Sarah and said, with her loud Spanish accent, "How may I serve you?" "Hi, I would like to speak with Robert," Sarah said. "Why?" someone at the door inquired. I was coming out of the kitchen, appearing astonished. Isabella gave me the kid. "You take care of your daughter now while I finish supper," Isabella said me. I grabbed the younger one and turned toward Sarah. Okay, well. I can't say I never expected this, but it still surprises me," I remarked, cynicism oozing from my voice. "You know, I should thank you for what you did," I said afterward. Sarah looked at me, dumbfounded. "If you hadn't deceived me, I wouldn't have relocated to this area of the nation, and I'd still be chilly and surrounded by concrete in the Northeast. Now I reside here, I have a lovely partner, and I'm beginning to create new family memories with Isabella and Amelia, my little daughters." Sarah was openly weeping. My anguish and wrath had subsided after so much time. I was inclined, as a sympathetic human being, to console her, but I refrained. I was on a mission. "So, Sarah, what do you want after almost 3 years?" she asked. Her words were just above a whisper, so I had to pay close attention. I had to apologize. I needed to express how sorry I was for what I did and how much I hurt you. I needed to tell you that it was never about you, but rather about how foolish I become. I needed to tell you that, despite all I did, I loved you then, I still love you today, and I will always love you. You were the finest husband and parent a woman could have. I was just a cheat. I'm sorry for what I've ruined. Her apologies were getting to me, and it was time to end the farce as quickly as possible. "Well, no harm done," I answered, seeming to be in good spirits. "Water under the bridge, as the saying goes. It's been a long time since I thought about it. I can declare with certainty that I forgive you. I wish you a very happy life," I murmured as I held Amelia in my arms. She was all grins. "Life as full of love as mine is," was all I said. Sarah's face was smeared with tears. Mumbling something, she approached me, hugged me briefly, and departed the home. I closed the door behind her. Isabella walked out of the kitchen and grabbed Amelia. I leaned back against the closed door and let my own tears fall. Isabella hugged me, kissed my forehead, and picked up her phone. "I'd better let Stephen know that I will be back home soon with his daughter," she remarked. "Thank you, Isabella," I said. "Tell Stephen that I'm expecting you 3 for a cookout on Saturday." "We will do it, boss. See you tomorrow at the office." Sarah signed the divorce papers and my attorney got them the next week. I'm undoubtedly going forward, but at my own pace. I have a few female pals and am only acquainted with one, but nothing significant. I suppose I am finally over what happened to me. When a lady approaches me, I become less apprehensive. I know I should give Isabella carte blanche to fix me up with a good young lady, and I think I'll do exactly that. However, after that visit, I'm questioning myself. I'm having second thoughts about leaving Sarah, but I've always assumed that I had nothing to speak about with her. She understood precisely how I felt about a cheating husband and how to cope with it. But now that I've heard from Sarah, I'm wondering whether I should have challenged her back then. Even though I've always disliked confrontation, I know one thing for certain: it was best for me to just vanish as I did. I loved her so profoundly that if I had confronted her, I would have likely believed her regret and accepted her apologies. I would have probably lived a wretched life of suspicion before going through with the divorce. But now, 2 years after her betrayal and our life together, Sarah's apologies made me feel like I could finally go on. It provided the closure I needed. I can let go of my anguish and once again trust in love. One day, I may even tell her that I don't really have a second daughter. I may. But I doubt it. I do not owe her anything anymore. I've learned that life may throw you curveballs, and sometimes you simply need to take a step back and let go of what's holding you back. After 2 years, I am no longer defined by the past or Sarah's treachery. I am not saying it doesn't hurt anymore, it does. I'm not saying I don't wish things had gone differently, I do. But, at some time, I realized that the only way to recover was to let go of the suffering. I still miss my children, of course. They are growing up quickly, and I'm proud of the grown-ups they are becoming. I still adore them more than everything. But I no longer have the burden of that destroyed marriage on my shoulders. I'm free today to make my own decisions and live life on my own terms. And, sure, there is place for love again, but this time on my own terms. It could take time, but that's okay. I have the rest of my life ahead of me, and I will not squander it. Thank you for hearing my story. Sometimes the greatest path ahead is to quit looking back. Do not forget to like and subscribe. See you next time.